Have you ever wondered how your recreational vehicle or your van camper or your travel trailer was made? We had exclusive tours at some of the top RV manufacturers in Elkhart, Indiana, the RV capital of the world, and you'd be surprised at what we learned. You may or may not know that I volunteer with an RV association and I have this kind of like insider outsider thing going on. And so I worked with some local leaders in Elkhart, Indiana to coordinate a trip for my group to come to Elkhart in June during the Elkhart Jazz Festival, not just to enjoy jazz, but to also tour some of the top manufacturers. And so because Elkhart, Indiana is the RV capital of the world, in Elkhart, the county, the city, as well as the surrounding areas, you have some of the top name brand RVs being made. I want to say over 85% of all the RVs in the US are manufactured there, including the parts. And so while we were there, we were able to tour Thor Motor Coach, Grand Design RV, and Alliance RV to get behind the scenes look at how some of their products are made. And I'm not even going to lie to you. I have never heard of Alliance RV, and that's no shade to Alliance, but I have only been in this world for, a year and a few months. That's how long I've had my van. And even shopping for my van the few years before that, I was pretty set on what I wanted. So I didn't do a whole lot of, shopping around for different companies and different models. I knew pretty much what I wanted. And so, because I hadn't heard of Alliance RV, that, like I said, it's no shade to them, but I learned a lot about them. And from the time that we arrived to their facilities, they were so great and so welcoming. Now, I'm always a little tardy to the party, so I think I was the last one to show up that morning because somehow I got left behind at the campground because I don't have a tow vehicle. I was riding with others, and those others decided that they had too much walking and too much touring on the day before. And so when I woke up, I had no ride. And so I had to get myself together, then unhook everything from the van, and then drive over to Alliance myself. So that's why I was like the last to arrive. But when I did arrive, I was delighted to see my group in the parking lot. They were talking to Jeremiah, who is the vice president of sales at Alliance, and he was basically answering all of their questions, which was awesome. To have like get pre-info before the tour. He kind of talked about the history of Alliance and how it developed and a little bit about the owners. And so that really set the tone for our tour from there. And so we started off in their office building, and it was so great because by when we walked in, they had on the screen welcome with the name of our group, and that just felt so special. And so while we were there, we took photos. And the thing I would say that set this tour apart from the others is that because we didn't just go to a plant or a factory or a manufacturing facility, they also welcomed us into their offices. And so we met so many of the staff, people who worked in sales and marketing. Then later at one of the events, we met one of the co-owners and co-founders of Alliance RV. But while we were there at their facility, we got to meet folks who were working in offices and cubes. Now, when we did go to the factory, the plant factory, it wasn't during live production, but we still had a really great tour. Zarin, who led our tour, basically welcomed us. Actually, it was a whole team of folks. Zarin, April, Jeremiah, and a few others welcomed us, but it was Zarin who led our tour. And one of the things that I liked about Alliance was when we came in, they said, you can take photos, you can take videos. We have nothing to hide over here. And I was like, okay, great. As someone who is doing PR, I'm like, that's exactly what I want to hear. But also, it's just great to have folks, be so open and transparent. That definitely goes a long way to, building rapport and goodwill and trust. And so we were there, we were touring their facility that makes um, destination trailers. If you've ever seen the Alliance benchmark or the Alliance paradigm, um, I was unfamiliar with even what a destination trailer was. But if you can imagine an RV, that isn't designed to be on the go, although it could, but it's more so if you buy, a lakefront property and you want to put a homestead there, you can buy one of these destination trailers and it can pretty much stay in one place for long periods of time. That's what it was designed to do. And so one of the cool things about Alliance RV that we learned while we were there is that it's employee owned. And I'm still digging in to figure out exactly what that means because as I met employees, walking around, I would ask them, how does it feel to be an owner? And they're like, oh, I'm not an owner. That's not me. And so as I understand it, employee owned is kind of more so for the top executives and not so much the plant workers. But I'm still kind of looking into seeing, what that means. As we go through, we get the tour from top to bottom, from axle to finish, to see they start us at the chassis and take us all the way down the line. One of the cool things about the Alliance tour was that we were able to go to an upstairs area that had windows and kind of like a viewing area so that we could see how the roof is constructed on their units. And that vantage point, I would say, is not something that we had at other places. We did go upstairs at Grand Design, but it was a much different view, whereas the perspective that we had at Alliance made things really clear how the roof was constructed. And it was a nice air conditioned room where we could kind of pause, ask questions, and learn more about, everything we had seen and done up until that point. One of the other things that stood out at Alliance, as opposed to the other RV manufacturers that we visited, is that we actually saw African American employees there. And you wouldn't think that would make such a difference, but it does. It does to the point where on our very first tour, I was wondering where are all the Black employees? And I had two people ask me on the tour, where are all the Black employees? And so it is definitely something that, we care about. And so to be at Alliance and, actually see a few Black employees, it was like great because, we want to see, diversity in this industry, not just on the consumer side, but also on the production side, because these are good paying jobs in Elkhart. And so we want to be sure that, that the equal opportunities abound. So it was really great to see the full production of these destination trailers. So starting with the chassis, I thought they were building like a fifth wheel, but it turns out, they was making this destination trailer, which I wasn't even familiar with that concept until I saw this. But oh, it was so nice. And I mean, I thought my van was luxurious. No, compared to these. Oh man, this benchmark and the solitude, and you can look around and see, the all of the design choices that they made, the luxury finishes. This thing is nicer than my house. And so I was so impressed, and just knowing that, all of it, all that it takes to make something like this, and then get to meet the people who are involved in production, the sales, everything about the company. Everybody we talked to, of course, they told us how pleased they were, how much they liked working there. They just said it's a really good company that takes care of their employees. And so I believe them. They weren't just, putting on a show or an act because we were there touring, but I could tell they meant what they said. And so it was really great to see that kind of employee satisfaction. And people hear about people who love their jobs and who have been in the industry for quite a while and even working at other places, but they said, no, this place is special. This place is different. The other thing that endears Alliance RV is that not only were they so welcoming and giving us a tour of their plant and letting us walk through their offices and meet so many of the employees, but we also met one of the co-founders, Ryan Brady, later that day when he served as one of the panelists on our RV industry panels, along with the president of our association and a few others. And so it was really great to see him and hear from him in that way, but also to be able to walk up to him and talk to him afterwards and, learn more about, his journey and, his plans for the future and just to be connected. And so while, I could say that I didn't know about Alliance RV going into this, I definitely won't forget them now. I know, a handful of employees there, and I know more about their story and, about the work that they do. And so I'll definitely keep them in mind to learn more, go back, and maybe even for future purchases. And I would definitely recommend that others take a look at their products. So if you do have an Alliance RV, I would love to hear from you and learn more about your experience and your satisfaction with your coach. So, drop a comment here or, send a message. Let us know how you like it and let us know if Alliance is living up to all of the hype that I put in this video because from what I saw, oh man, it's pretty incredible.